Welcome. This is the Enlightenment Show, and I'm your host, Laurie Schoenfeld. This is where Chicken Soup for the Soul meets the artist way with Nancy Drew. Our guest today is Debbie Chein Morris, author of We Used to Dance. We're going to be chatting with her today all about her new release and what she's learned from being a caregiver. Hello, Debbie. Welcome.
Hi, Lori. Thank you for having me. I'm very happy to be here.
I am stoked to have you here and so grateful for you sharing your book and voice with us. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
It's November. What is something that you're currently grateful for right now?
Oh, that's let me think, because winter's coming and I'm not really happy about that. So yes, I can be grateful for the colors on the trees. That's always nice.
You're in good company, Debbie, because it's like I feel the same way where I'm like, I enjoy the colors and parts of November, but it's almost that feeling of like, oh, it's coming. Oh, it's coming.
Inevitable.
Yeah. Yep. The winter is coming. Can you share with our listeners and viewers what We Used to Dance is all about?
Sure. So it's a story of, my sister, my twin sister, was born with cerebral palsy and lived at home her whole life until the age of 55, when it became necessary to place her in a nursing home. It wasn't our choice. It wasn't the family's choice. It was the doctor's decision. And even though we tried to find alternatives because we didn't want her placed in a nursing home, but the truth is my mother was past 90 at that point, and Judy, that's my sister, had home attendants, but they really, at that point, they weren't very good. And my mother wasn't on top of it, so her care that she was receiving was pretty inadequate. And it became necessary to place her in a nursing home. And it was a very traumatic experience for all of us. And that's really what the book is about, her placement in the home, what happened, while she was there, how I reacted, how my emotions. It's based on a journal that I was writing at the time, and so there's a lot of emotion in it. And I also talk about our growing up together and lots of happier times.
Why was it important for you to write this novel?
Originally, I wanted to share the story with my children, who obviously knew what was happening at the time, but they weren't living at home at that time. They were grown already to a point where they at least were in college, my youngest. And I don't think they were aware of the emotions that I felt. And so I wanted to share that with them. And I also wanted to share my story with just the outside world. And for one, to share just what I went through, kind of, and to hopefully help others. Other people, I always felt that my situation was somewhat unique. Judy was unique. But other people do go through similar types of challenges and traumas. And I felt it was maybe going to be helpful to others.
Mm-hmm. What was it like for you having a sister with cerebral palsy? Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
It's interesting because I've had that question asked to me, and although I certainly was aware that Judy wasn't able to do what I was able to do, at a young age, but it wasn't any different. For me, it was my life. And so I never thought about it as being anything different than, obviously my friends did not have a sister like Judy, but I did. And it was just the way it was. And so it was very natural. Um, I did wish that she could do the things that I could do. And so I had a lot of fantasies about her, being able to do stuff, and dreams and wishes of what, I would have wished could have happened. But growing up, I really didn't see myself as being anything different than anybody else.
Mm-hmm. What were some of your favorite things to do with Judy growing up?
We used to play a lot of board games. Now, let me just backtrack a little and explain how severely disabled she was. She was totally dependent on anybody to do anything. She really could not do anything physically for herself. And the only thing she really could do was move her jaw a little bit so that she would, for yes and for no. She understood what we were saying, asking, doing. She had her favorite TV shows and things like that. But she couldn't do anything physically for herself. And so when we would play any kind of board games or anything like that, I would have to put the dice in her hand and kind of like shake it up a little bit and drop it and then move her piece. So I would be playing two people's roles by myself, but she would watch and she would enjoy it. And she just, whether she enjoyed the game or the attention, I'm not sure, but we did a lot of that. And so board games, mahjong, we used to play. And we danced. That was where the title of the book came from, was that I would just either take her out of her wheelchair and spin her around, in my arms in the room, or sometimes in the wheelchair, we would, put on some music and just dance, back and forth. I would sway her back and forth. And so we spent a lot of time doing that. I would read to her when we were little. I used to read to her every night, and so kind of almost maybe what you might do with a child, but I did it, as we grew up. So I was a child too.
Mm-hmm.
And then walking. We used to take walks. I'm sorry, but. I loved taking walks with her because she loved going out and taking walks herself. And so that became into adulthood when we would, even when I was no longer living at home and I was married already, and we would go and pick her and my mother up and take them for walks in a park or a garden or anything like that. She liked to walk outside.
Mm-hmm. So going into communication, which you mentioned a little bit with her facial expressions with her mouth on yes
Mm-hmm.
and no, what were some other ways that you communicated so you could understand her and she could understand you? What did that look like?
She would make verbal noises if she was upset or didn't like something, and she might kind of like screaming noises maybe, but they're not really screaming, just vocalizations. And when she was happy, she would laugh. And so that was about the ability of her vocalizing, laughing, and what we called kvetching, which was to show displeasure. And so, and all of that, it worked really well when we were young. And then as we got older, especially in the last, maybe, I don't know, last 10, 15 years, where her mouth just wasn't working so well anymore. And you could hardly get a yes or no answer. It wasn't, it was more difficult.
Mm-hmm. What were some of the things that you longed and hoped for Judy?
Well, as a child, I write in my book that we used to watch the Cerebral Palsy telethon, and they had children come out and they sang their theme song about walking to the candy store, and that's what I wished. So that was my childhood dreams. And then, when once we got older, it was obviously it wasn't happening, and I just liked enjoyed to make her happy. That was anything to make her happy. So, like I said, we would go for a walk or something. I, really wanted her to. Seeing her laugh and smile was great joy. And when she went into the nursing home, I guess my hopes were that she would actually acclimate and, enjoy some of the activities that they did. Unfortunately, it didn't happen that way.
Mm-hmm. When you got older, Debbie, how did watching your sister affect you?
So, I'm not sure what you meant by watching. What do you mean by watching? Do you mean like taking care of her or watching her?
That's a fantastic question. More of watching her move through life or her struggles and the different things that she went through. How did that affect you when you saw that?
Well, as she got older and she became less able to sit in the wheelchair, more difficult to bring her in and out of the wheelchair because she was more rigid. It was hard. It was hard to see her not the way she once was, and in the nursing home, it was very, very difficult to watch her, leaving her there. Going home was very, very hard, knowing that she was going to be there by herself. Again, she couldn't communicate, and except for laughing or crying, and so she couldn't tell people what was bothering her, or if she wanted something, or even if she was thirsty. Even for us at that point, we would have to ask like a zillion questions to try to figure out, okay. And then if we hit upon it, it was really great. So it was really difficult, and when she really started to deteriorate, it was just a very, very painful and difficult to watch.
Hmm. When I was reading your book and hearing you now, like just that transition between you've been with her your whole life, so you know her needs, you know her sounds, you know what she likes, doesn't like, and so putting her in and dropping her off into a nursing home, regardless, like I'm sure there were a lot of concerns about having somebody be able to take care of her in the way that you knew her.
Which was why this was so traumatic, because when I was guilt-ridden, and having to leave her in a place where she didn't know anyone. She lived her whole life at home with people who knew her, and here she was in a place where nobody knew her. They didn't know her needs, her likes. I mean, yes, they knew to feed her, they knew she was incontinent, so they knew to change her diaper, that kind of stuff, but they didn't know what she wanted. They didn't know how to read her. And that was really very, very hard to leave somebody in a place where they can't communicate and they can't tell anyone, and she doesn't know them, they don't know her, and she's never been in such a situation. She did go away to camp when she was about 20, like, and she had a great time too, but that was for a month, and even though I think that when she first went into the home, I do think she expected for that to be temporary, and that she was going to go home. And it took her a while to, I think, realize that she wasn't going home. And that's when she started really getting sad.
Did you notice that when you went to visit her, off and on throughout the month or through the week, that change in her demeanor?
Yeah, I did. In the beginning, I think when we went there, I have the sun shining in here, I see. In the beginning when I went, she would be so happy to see us. And there were days when she was, seemed happy to see us. But as it went on, it seemed more like I couldn't get her to smile.
Oh. How did you support yourself, Debbie, through that grief that you were feeling through that transition period, but then also later on?
Well, I started writing emails to a joint email, group email to friends and family who would ask, so what happened? How's Judy today? What's happening? That kind of thing. And I was so exhausted by the whole ordeal, and I really just couldn't repeat my story, repeat myself. So I started writing just a group email, and from that, it became my journal, and that was really my outlet. I was able to get all my feelings out, all my frustrations, my thoughts, and that helped me tremendously.
Mm-hmm. What were a few things that you learned about yourself as you were a caregiver with Judy?
I learned that I would like to be in control of everything. And that was hard because I wasn't. And that was a learning experience in itself, to realize that one cannot be in control of everything, and you just can't make things the way you want it to be all the time. And so that was a biggie for me.
I'm sending a lot of love and support from my corner to yours because I understand and resonate with that. And man, the learning lesson that goes with that is a doozy.
Thanks.
Letting go sounds simple, but it's just not. There's so many layers there.
Yeah, it is. And so, but I did learn that, was able to finally say, I can't do anything about this. And there were things that I was also afraid to speak up too much. I was afraid that, if I got on their bad side, that it would affect their care or attention to Judy. So I didn't want to make waves. So there's that piece that, and I'm not an assertive person. I'm very introverted, I'm very shy, and so it's very difficult for me to speak up. So on the occasions that I did, it was a big deal.
Mm-hmm. What were a few things that you did speak up about?
Well, from the very beginning, I really argued with the doctor about the placement to begin with, but I lost that battle. And then later on, there were things with her wheelchair. There were problems with the wheelchair, and my mother was involved with this too. I don't want it to sound like it was just me alone. I mean, my mother was there, only she really took a lesser role because this had a tremendous impact on her. And so I think she suffered for it in her cognitive abilities even. And she wasn't quite understanding things that went on. So I would, try to speak to the nurses. I would speak to the the staff about things that we felt. But I can't say I did that a lot. I really can't say I in retrospect, could have been a much greater advocate, and I wasn't as forceful as I might have been.
Mm-hmm. I really appreciate you sharing that, because there's definitely the lessons learned is there's always moments for each of us where retrospect, there's things we could do different, but you were there with what you had. And that was a whole bunch of love for your sister.
That is true.
that goes a long way, Debbie.
Thanks. It took me a long time to recognize that I really did the best I could and accept the fact that I did the best I could.
Yes. We're going to take it to the inner child question segment. Are you ready, Debbie?
Okay.
First question, as a kid, what were some of your favorite dances and music to dance to with Judy?
Well, Judy was a fan of oldies music. And even growing up, I guess it was even oldies then. Because we had two older brothers, so we kind of listened to their music as well. And so that's what we listened to. And Judy loved to listen to the radio. That was a big part of her day. And so when we danced, we would dance to that kind of music, and just kind of like no rhyme or reason to the dance, just going with the flow.
That's when I was reading your book. That's the thought that I had, is like I could see in my head this beautiful dance of just flowing. Like there's no technique. You're just enjoying the flow of the moment. So you wrote that up very well, because that's what I saw. Second question. If you wanted to escape anywhere, where would you go and why?
Well, it would be someplace warm, because as I said at the beginning, I don't like the cold. And someplace with water. I find that water is very comforting. It's very soothing. Where Judy was in the nursing home, we would cross a bridge, and there was and we were by the ocean actually. So I couldn't take her there; it was too far to take her. But I spent a lot of time at that ocean on the boardwalk. That it would have water, definitely.
Mm-hmm. Yes. It's relaxing to be around water.
Yes. I mean, my whole trip to when I would go to Judy, I would take the long route so that I could go over back and forth over a few bridges to small little bridges, but over the water, because I found it so soothing and comforting.
You were saying that, Debbie, of like going back and forth over the bridge with the water, and it just gave me this whole magical, whimsical, like portal type feel of just something. The essence of going over bridges with water feels very magical.
It was. I mean, it is. And I remember taking my mother there once, and she's, I have a very bad sense of direction, but I did know how to get there. And but she had a very good sense of direction, and she sensed that we were backtracking a little bit. And I remember her saying, "Why are we going the long way?" She was just happy to get there faster, and that was my route.
We're going the magical way, the adventure way. What is the oddest food combo that you've liked and tried, or you have just tried?
Okay, so this was a hard one. And I actually asked my kids, what do they think was my oddest food? And they think everything I eat is odd.
So you're good to go. You're set.
Right. But I actually did come up with something. I have to explain. So I've been kosher my whole life, and then I turned vegetarian. So there's a lot of foods I don't eat, so that limits what I do eat. And they think, like some of my food choices are odd. But so the strangest thing, though, the strangest combo, I think I learned from my partner's grandchildren actually is pizza and sushi. So,
Like sushi on your pizza, Debbie, or
no,
sushi
separate.
inside
It's separate. So
with sushi?
have some sushi, then have some pizza.
I love that because it is like this feel of refined, just like, hearty, healthy eating, and then like play and wonder on the side. I've never had sushi and pizza together, but yes. So yeah,
It worked.
I like your style. Yes. Before we end today, Debbie, can you share with our listeners and viewers what living a creatively abundant life means to you?
Okay. So I think it just means filling your life with a lot of creativity. And so for me, of course, I enjoy writing. I also enjoy knitting. I try playing the piano. I'm not very good at it, but I try. And I think even nature is creative, and I love walking in nature and seeing. I mentioned the trees changing color, but it's all of nature. It's all of just the beauty of nature, and I think that's gives you a lot of creative feeling, and just filling your life with it is the abundance.
Where can our listeners and viewers find you if they have any questions for you after the show and want to get your book?
My website is Debbie Chein Morris, which is spelled DebbieCheinMorris.com. And it has information about how to order the book. It has information a bit about me and how to contact me, as well as actually on my website I have some resources for other people who are in the position of as caregivers, and maybe placing their loved one in some sort of home, or just caring for them at home. So there are some books and some websites, organizations that they can turn to.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Debbie. And please go grab some blankets, some fuzzy socks, and coats as the winter's coming. Get yourself all bundled in there.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Lori.
It's been my pleasure. And thank you so much for those who've joined us live and will also join on the replay. Remember, as you go about the rest of your week, to find the things that are working for you. You are the creator of your own story. What steps will you take next? Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much, Debbie.
Thank you. Bye.